We're diving into raising emotionally resilient children without over controlling their lives. Because the truth is, resilience is built in the messy middle. I have another video about the messy middle too, right? When kids get to feel, to fail, to try again, and still know that you're right there as their safe base. And ultimately, that is a very big responsibility, and it is something that helps us develop a relationship with our children. Why emotional resilience matters, you might ask. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt, bounce back, and grow through challenges. Essentially, not to be a wilting wallflower or someone who's afraid of their own shadow, right? Let's contrast a resilient child versus an over-controlled child. The over-controlled child is the child who has to be told by its parents what they need to do, what they should be doing, what they're not doing, and it's almost like they're a shell, versus the resilient child has modeled what its parents have said and does that on their own without having to be threatened or things like that. Not that you should threaten your children. I'm not saying that you should do that. But I'm saying that there is a difference between controlling every move that your child makes and then allowing them to actually develop those skills on their own. Because, ultimately we're not always going to be there. But we do want our children to be able to bounce back and have the best life that they can have, just as we want a good life for ourselves as well. So let me share a quick story. A kid who spills juice and a parent either A, yells and takes over, or B, calmly guides them to clean it up are two totally different resilience building outcomes. Which one do you think is more likely to lead to building resilience, right? Is it the parent that yells and controls because the parent's going to end up cleaning it up? Or is it the one that says, calmly guides them how to clean it? Because what does it say? It says, you can feed someone something, you can hand them something and feed them, or you can teach them that particular skill, teaching them to fish, and they're going to know how to feed themselves from then on, right? And that's what parent B did, which is building resilience in a calm, confident way. The key point here is over control may keep kids temporarily safe, but it weakens their long-term adaptability. And we don't want to stunt their growth in any area of their lives. The trap of over control. And I think a lot of people, especially type A people, feel like they can control all situations. Well, control is definitely something that is only an illusion. We have no control, even though we feel like we do, right? Ultimately, over our children, over other circumstances that we just can't control. We can't control everything. So why parents over control? Fear, anxiety, wanting to protect, wanting to avoid pain. And I think that, I always thought that when I didn't get something as a child, that it was like the end of the world and it hurt so bad. But when it happens to my children, I realize that I feel even worse because it's even worse than when I experienced it. I get to experience it secondhand, seeing their frustration, seeing their sadness, seeing their tears for something that didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. And that is worse than when I experienced it firsthand. So the effects on children of this are less problem-solving skills, which problem-solving skills are extremely important, increased anxiety, lack of confidence in their own decision-making, normalizing it. If you caught yourself micromanaging every move, you're not a bad parent. It's usually love and fear mixed together. What emotional resilience really looks like. Resilient kids are adaptable, emotionally aware, able to self-soothe, and confident in problem solving. Let's emphasize that safe struggle. Children need opportunities to practice bouncing back without us fixing everything. And I know as mothers, it's really difficult to stand back and see your child struggling, even though it's a minor struggle, but to see them struggling without wanting to check in, take over, fix it, right? Because moms want to be the fixers. We have that connection with our kids from the time we've carried them, and we want to make sure that they're safe and that they're protected. Example, letting a kid struggle through a puzzle rather than completing it for them. A parent who lets their child handle a playground conflict instead of rushing in later, that child learns they can navigate tough feelings. Now, is it going to feel good? Is it going to be rough? Is that something that you're probably going to have to deal with later by talking to them and going through their feelings and how they handled it and how it felt. And that sometimes things are uncomfortable, but they have to be done, right? That is resilience. That is building resilience. That is flexing that muscle and strengthening that muscle so that next time it will be easier for them. Let's talk about how to build resilience without over control. Once again, practical strategies. Name the feelings, don't erase them. I see you're disappointed, you would say, instead of don't cry, it's fine. Because if you're saying don't cry, it's fine, then you're minimizing how they're actually feeling. Coach, don't rescue. Ask guiding questions like, what do you think we should try next? That is putting the child in the driver's seat and again, helping them flex that muscle, helping them build that muscle, and also helping with problem-solving skills and critical thinking. Model emotional regulation. Kids mirror calm more than they mirror lectures. Offer choices within boundaries. This builds autonomy without chaos. Normalize mistakes. Share your own mini failures and how you recovered. Create connection rituals. Bedtime check-ins, walks, moments to talk through tough days. Because we all have tough days. Even as adults, we have tough days. Step back intentionally. Resist the urge to micromanage. Let them experience small doses of frustration. Frustration is not going to kill them. It's going to probably upset them and annoy them, right? And they might be cranky, but ultimately it's not going to harm them. Common misconceptions and pitfalls. Myth. Resilience means tough kids who never cry. Truth. It's about feeling and coping. Myth. Good parents prevent all pain. Truth. Good parents support kids through pain. Pitfall. Lecturing instead of listening. So you want to listen rather than acting like you know all the answers, because unless there's a back and forth conversation, you're not really going to know what's deep down going on behind their emotions, right? And so you don't want to seem like you know everything. You want them to know that you're willing to listen to them. You want to hear what they have to say, and you want to help them through this. You don't want to lecture them and scold them or things like that, rather than listening to what they're actually going through. Pitfall. Overscheduling kids so they never face boredom or self-direction. Again, I have always been somewhat of an overachiever, trying to do certain things. I like to be busy. I like to be doing activities. After COVID, that changed, and I'm kind of glad that it did, because always running doesn't give you time to think. You're always stressed. So try to avoid that if possible. The parent's role is a safe base. You don't have to control to be supportive. Because no kid ever says, boy, I'm so glad that my mom controls everything, or I'm so glad that my dad controls every move that I make. Absolutely not, right? You're not giving them time to flex that muscle. You're not giving them time to try their problem-solving skills or their resilience skills. Use presence instead of pressure. And by presence, I mean being there, offering support. I'm here if you need me. Give safety without taking over. So if they say the word, then that's when you would jump in and try to help. Emphasize the long game. Our job isn't to raise perfect kids. It's to raise humans who can stand tall when life gets messy. So in closing, emotional resilience grows when children are allowed to experience challenges with parents as calm guides. Over-control blocks growth. Coaching, modeling, and presence builds resilience. Your kids don't need a perfect parent. They need a parent who trusts them enough to let them try and who loves them enough to let them stumble, fall, and rise stronger. If today's episode gave you a fresh perspective, share it with another parent who needs encouragement to step back without stepping away. And if you want more tools for raising strong, emotionally resilient kids, hit follow, subscribe, and join me for future episodes when we break parenting myths and build confident families together. Raising resilient kids isn't about bubble wrapping their lives. It's about walking beside them as they stumble, fall, and rise stronger. In this episode, we explored practical ways to foster resilience without over-control. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.